Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and welcome our panelists for the special session.
Look at the crowd still coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us in this special session. One of the great things about GLOBSEC is that we have such a rich array of individuals who come from all over the world, from so many backgrounds, who join us every year in this event. And this year is no different. But this year we find that there are world events that are swirling around us that we thought this morning, as we all awoke to the a world where the Israelis had attacked Iran overnight, that this was such an important moment that it was worthy of gathering our GLOBSEC friends together for a special session. And we're really fortunate this afternoon. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with introductions, but we're really fortunate this morning to have with us Major General Amos Yadlin. General Yadlin and I are very old friends, like a brother, really. He's a fighter pilot in the Israeli Air Force, so that says a lot instantly. Has fought in a number of the Israeli conflicts, would eventually become the chief of the Israeli Air Force. But when he and I began to intersect in our careers, he was the chief of Israeli Defense Intelligence. And we were both focused on Iran during that period of time. Now, one of the things that makes his career unique and gives him special opportunity to speak today was that he was, in the Air Force parlance, he was Dash 2 of the 6 F-16s that attacked the Iraqi nuclear pile in Osirak outside of Baghdad in Iraq. His 2,000-pound bomb was the first one to take out the Iraqi reactor. Later, as the chief of Israeli Defense Intelligence, he and his elements discovered the Syrian reactor in its eastern desert, just outside of Iraq. And it was that operation that ultimately took out the Syrian potential and its bid for nuclear capabilities. So this is a man who is not unfamiliar with danger, not unfamiliar with challenge, familiar with the great strategic issues of our time. And he's here, of course, as a guest of GLOBSEC, and he consented today to give us an update on how we see things unfolding now in the Middle East. All commanders know in battle, most first reports are wrong. So you got to be careful about that. And the information that's flowing now to the public sense is fluid, but I know Amos is deeply tied back into Israel. I want to make sure of a couple things. This afternoon, we will not discuss in any way classified material. I don't want anybody thinking that we are having a very special session here at the top secret level. That is not the case. You are all cleared for unclassified information, and we're going to give you unclass. We are also not going to get into the technical, tactical details but I think we can give you a pretty broad view of what's unfolding here. So what I've asked Amos to do, and I've got several questions for him. The first one is he has a very interesting narrative, because what happened last night didn't just start last night. What happened last night, in many respects, has been planned for a very long time. But the execution order came last night. But what's happened since the 7th of October in 2023, that horrific day when Israel was attacked by Hamas out of Gaza? What's happened since then in the Middle East has been epic. And we often don't see the entirety of this as time goes on. And I've asked Amos to give us a sense of what has happened so that we have a sense of the enormity of Israeli operations and the threat to Israel and the way Israel has responded to that since the 7th of October 2023. And with that, Amos, if I could turn the floor over to you, my brother, and if you could take us through the first question, please.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Yes, we are brothers, but I have to correct you. I haven't been the commander of the Israeli Air Force. I lost the competition. I was number 2, the chief of air staff.
That's it, okay.
And then I was the first and unfortunately the last Air Force general that became the head of the intelligence. The head of intelligence in Israel is not a military intelligence, it's a national intelligence. You are running like 16 agencies in America. When I used to go to DC, I have to meet 16 different generals and head of agencies. So what happened tonight has to do with your introduction. What happened tonight is the third time that the Begin doctrine was exercised.
Menachem Begin.
Menachem Begin, Prime Minister of Israel, 1981. I'm a young major, as you said. He decided that any country that calling in the open to destroy the Jewish state of Israel will not be allowed to have the tools to do it, which is a nuclear bomb. So it was exercised first in Baghdad, and then a North Korean reactor, not a Syrian reactor, North Korean reactor in the Syrian desert. And I was invited to brief Vice President Cheney in 2008, and he knew about my history. He said, General, 2 is not enough. You need to have 3 on your belt. Say, Vice President, we are doing everything, but I guess it will be my students that will do it. And they did it last night, and they did it big. They did it big. But you want me to go back to the 7th of October. And what happened to Israel on the 7th of October was a huge failure. Huge failure. Intelligence failure, operational failure, and leadership failure, political failure. We don't have time to go deeply into each one of the failures. Then we went to a war in 7 fronts. And whose idea was it to have 7 fronts around Israel? Iran. Iran has a doctrine that they don't want to confront Israel directly, but they will encircle Israel with proxies, like Hezbollah, like Hamas, like Islamic Jihad, like the Shia militia in Iraq, like the Assad regime, like the Houthis, and all of them in the same time will attack Israel. This was the idea of the 7th of October, starting in Gaza, continue to Hezbollah, to Syria, to Iraq. And it was about 9 months that Israel was under attack, and the first phase of the war is a failure, because Israel defense doctrine is short wars and decisive victories, and it was not the case until the summer of 2024. And then we did a short war against Hezbollah, decisive victory, decapitating the leadership, destroying, and this is even more important than the decapitation and more important than the pagers. It's 3,000 ballistic missiles that should have been launched against Israel from southern and central Lebanon, and all of them were destroyed due to a very good intelligence and excellent air force. And Hezbollah basically gave up, decoupled from Gaza. And what happened last night, in my view, is even more impressive, because Beirut and southern Lebanon are 50 miles, 100 miles from Israel. What happened last night is happening between 1,500 kilometers to 200 kilometers. And you know it. 2,000 kilometers. Against not a terror organization like Hezbollah, against its mother, the state of Iran, which is the cause of all the problems in the Middle East. But speaking about failure, big success, by the way, my recommendation to the government of Israel was take this success into a political solution of the war. They haven't done it. It was a period of missed opportunity. And what have started last night is an opportunity, and I hope it will not be a gamble or a missed opportunity. Because as you said, you always know how you start a war, but the war is judged at the end of the war, mostly by what you achieve politically and strategically. I will say something about the mission last night. The target was the Iranian nuclear program. Based on the Begin Doctrine, the Iranians are smart, sophisticated, educated, and they have prepared their nuclear program in an impressive way. They have learned the lesson of 1981, 2007, Muammar Gaddafi. They prepared a robust, dispersed, not a nuclear reactor. All kind of enrichment site, all kind of other nuclear sites, all over the country. So the operational challenge was unique. Unique, it is not over yet. I think as we speak, airplanes are still flying into Iran to complete some of the job. As you say, not classified information, but the first results are very good on nuclear. But nuclear is not enough. There was a leadership capitation that the chief of staff of Iran military, the head of the IRGC, and the head of the air and space, all these generals were targeted. You know how much real-time intelligence and the capability to connect it to the right bomb is so important and so professional in doing that. But not last but not least, after nuclear and leadership, come the understanding that the Iranians will react. Iraq haven't reacted in 81. They closed the bill in 1991, but they haven't reacted in 81. The Syrians haven't reacted. They went into denial space. Their nuclear site was never attacked.
And you let them do that too?
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
stability purposes.
And the Iranians are waiting for this attack in the last 15 years. So they prepare a huge number of ballistic missiles and drones and cruise missiles. So last night, Israel preempted also these elements. Not all of them, but what we saw in the first attempt of Iran to retaliate, zero penetration, which is also amazing, amazing success. It will not be forever, but when I thought about the Iranian reaction, I thought about something much more formidable than it was.
With regard to the timing of this attack, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. With regard to the timing of this attack, what generated that timing? Was it some sense? Thank you. You know, one of the things that we've always taken a close eye on with respect to any potential hostile nuclear program is whether the hostile state can do several of three things. A full nuclear, an enrichment cycle, fully capable uranium enrichment cycle, or a plutonium extraction program, number one. Number two, the capacity to weaponize it, so a device of some form or another. And the third was the means to deliver it. Those three things together would theoretically generate the need to act, but if they began to move forward ultimately for a breakout, that became the necessity to act. Can you talk a little bit about how Israel saw this moment for the reason to attack, please?
Yeah, you're absolutely right with the three components. Iran has missiles, thousands of them. Iran developed in the last 15 years the capability to enrich with advanced centrifuges. They have, by the way, they used to have, I don't know what left, but they used to have tons of enriched uranium, 20%, 60%, and it can be enriched to a military level within days, maybe week. So these two elements were there. So all the intelligence, I guess your intelligence as well, MI6 as well, and the Israeli intelligence look at the weaponization. And there were signs that Iran is now renewing what they have stopped in 2003. You know why they have stopped in 2003? Because of you. Because President Bush have a State of the Union saying, we destroy Saddam Hussein, there is an axis of evil, next is Iran and North Korea. By 2005, by the way, they understood that you are not going anywhere. You're stuck in Iraq because of them, and they renew the enrichment. But they haven't renewed the weaponization, because the Iranians, once again, they want to reach to the bomb not as fast as possible. This is a nation with patience. They want to reach to the bomb as safe as possible. So they want to develop all the components, and then in the last, or in the right and proper minute, to break out. And there were signs that because of the war in Ukraine, because you are dealing with Taiwan, and you shift to the Pacific, maybe it's a good time. So I think the timing has to do with the state of the weaponization program in Iran. The tactical time has to do with the 60 days that Trump gave them for negotiation, and the understanding that there is no about good deal that will stop Iran to come from this negotiation. The Iranians try to buy time that, once again, Trump will be busy in another place. There was still a snapback mechanism that the Americans cannot use. It's a diplomatic tool that was in the JCPOA from 2015. Only the E3 can call snapback. The Iranians were very worried about the snapback of the sanctions of UN Security Council 1929. And so they want to buy time. The Iranians want to buy time all the time. So Israel decided that enough is enough, and this is the right timing. One thing about the American position. When we look into the White House from America, we see a traffic light. Not with 3 lights, with 4 lights. The first light is, as always, red. Don't. This is Obama light, this is Biden light. This may was Trump light during the 60 days. There is a yellow light, which is basically saying you are a sovereign country, you are threatened by a country that want to destroy you. If you want to attack, attack, but we are not in the business. We are afraid that our soldiers in Qatar, in Bahrain, will be attacked by Iran, so go for it, good luck. I guess this was the case last night when Bibi called Trump, I think 1 hour before the attack. There is a green light. In the first 2 months of Trump, there was a green light. Green light meaning the General Kurila, the commander of CENTCOM, came to Israel.
U.S. Central Command, which has operational responsibility for the entire Middle East, Central Asia, and Egypt.
He came and asked Israel, how can I help you? We are not going to attack Iran, because we are a peace-loving country, but if you have to do it, do you need tankers? Do you need bombs? Do you need intelligence? We'll give you diplomatic support. And I think Trump have stopped it. I think the head of the National Security Council was removed from the Washington building. No, it's Eisenhower building.
Eisenhower, yes, next door.
Because he was on the green light. And of course, there is the yellow light. Yellow light is a dream that we will do it together. In a couple of hours, President Trump will have the National Security or the principal meeting, because National Security Council was basically cancelled. But he will speak with his advisors, and he will have to decide where he is going about this attack. And let me finish by thinking about 4 scenarios that may be developed. One is a bilateral war between Israel and Iran, because the Iranians will be smart not to attack America, even though they threatened, but between threatening to pushing the button, they may calculate that this is a bad idea to bring America.
Especially with Trump as president right now, that's right.
So bilateral war. Second, they will do the mistake, and they will attack you or close the Strait of Hormuz. At least the markets think that that's what they are going to do. Price of oil went up dramatically. And then we are in another war, in the blue light. I will not say that I will be sorry for that. There is another scenario that I also prefer, a UN Security Council, let's say on Monday or Tuesday. Is it a long weekend? No, on Monday.
You never know when the UN has a long weekend, so it's...
calling for a ceasefire. Calling for a ceasefire, and the Russians and the Chinese will be smart enough not to veto it. So this is a very, I think, very good... and then Trump can go to renegotiate with much better cards, and the Iranians will be less aggressive. There is also a scenario which I give a very, very low likelihood, and this is that Russia and China will find it that they have to help Iran, because Iran helps them in Ukraine, and Iran is sending them oil to China, and it will become a global conflict. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm voting for 2 and 3.
Okay, well, you've gotten, I think, a remarkable tour of the Middle East and a commentary on what happened last evening. One quick question, and we're going to go to the audience for some questions, and we've got about 10 minutes left. Was the strike in January, and again, we're not doing classified material, was the strike in January a premeditated preliminary for the follow-on strike date to be determined, which was last night? Was that strike intentionally planned to set the conditions for the follow-on strike?
Yeah, you mean in October?
Yes.
Because in January, Israel's response was very mild, very mild. Only one radar of S-300. So it basically was the message to the Iranians: don't meddle with us. You launch 300 ballistic missiles, drones, and cruise missiles, and only 3 penetrated. We launch 3, and all of them hit you between the eyes. They haven't got the message, and they, in October, attack us again, this time with 200 ballistic missiles, with a higher rate of penetration, about 20%. And then Israel retaliates by knocking off all the long-range strategic air defense. Iran was not naked, but the long-range strategic air defense gave an opportunity to go much closer to the targets, and this was, in a way, preparing the battlefield.
Okay, we can go out to the audience for a couple of questions, and I'm looking for a question mark early in whatever question comes in, as opposed to commentary necessarily. So we have one on the front row and the lady who has her hand up in the back. If we could get a microphone over there.
can be directed to General Allen as well. He is a real expert.
Hi, Kim. Good to see you.
Yeah, Kim Dozier, CNN analyst. What do you think the regional fallout will be now that this has happened and Iran doesn't seem to have much of a capacity to respond? Will we see, what will this do to the Abraham Accords? Will Iran be able to return to talks with the Trump administration?
Here is the scenario, the dream scenario, that Netanyahu finally will end the war in Gaza, will bring back all the hostages in one day for ending the war. There is another condition there. There will not be reconstruction without demilitarization. There will be an Arab Palestinian mandate there for a couple of years to make Gaza an Abu Dhabi place. And Israel will agree with America that if Hamas is not dismantling, we have the same agreement that we have about Hezbollah in the north. That if they rebuild, Israel has the right to preempt. And then, if Gaza is gone, and if Iran is weaker, no doubt that Abraham Accord can be extended, not only to Saudi, to Lebanon and Syria, that have now leaders that decided that they want to rebuild their countries and not sacrifice them for the Palestinians.
So when Mohammed bin Salman produced the new head of the Syrian government to the President of the United States, there was a condition of advocacy by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia on behalf of the new Syrian president in front of the U.S. president that I think creates a platform for much of what you've just talked about going forward. I had a question in the front row, and then we'll go to the back.
Thank you. Patrick Tucker with Defense One. I appreciate your comments on the conditions that would justify a strike like this in terms of the period between a breakout and a potential act. But officials have been saying for years that Iran was days away from creating a bomb. We know that there hasn't been any test of any device. Is there something that has changed in the last 60 days or even from the beginning of the year that in their nuclear weapon development to justify this? Because it seems a very strange time with the collapse of Hezbollah and the collapse in Syria to instigate such a thing. So has there been any change, or has the state been the same and the decision has changed based on opportunity?
I think you are not accurate with saying that for years we say that Iran is days or weeks from the bomb. On the contrary, we say that Iran is a year from the bomb with JCPOA. Then, unfortunately, Trump left the JCPOA, and Iran became much closer, and Netanyahu and Trump didn't have any plan B. And then they took advantage of the Biden administration. They got even closer. They never enriched to 60% before the last 2 years. They never accumulate such a quantity of enriched uranium. On the weaponization, since it's unclassified, I cannot refer, and I cannot agree with you more that behind the need to stop Iran, there was an opportunity here. Because when I was chief of intelligence in 2010, first time that Israel really thought about attacking Iran, Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Barak was pushing very much. Chief of Staff Ashkenazi and Head of Mossad Meir Dagan were against it. And I, as the national assessor, I gave them like 17 questions to answer with yes, if they want to attack. The first question was, can we do it? Can we roll back the Iranians? At that time, by the way, the answer was basically no. And then the next 16 questions are not important. Second, can you absorb the Hezbollah reaction? Hezbollah was a formidable enemy, but he's not here. You're absolutely right. And then some other questions. So it was the right time, there was an opportunity, and it was maybe the last time.
Any other questions, please? In the back. And we'll come over here to this lady.
General, you know me well. I'm the senior fellow in the GeoTech Center, Koraikose. I just wanted to very quickly ask a question with regards to the other powers in that region and how they would react, especially Turkey. Turkey has a strained relationship recently with Israel, is a NATO partner and very important one to the US as well. General, what do you think this will do to the relationship now and going forward, because we're opening more arenas in an area that is already full of arenas? Thank you.
Very good question. The Middle East is basically divided to 4 camps. The Iranian camp, the axis of evil, that thanks God and the IDF is now much weaker. The pragmatic Arabs, which are modern and moderate Islam states, like the Saudis, like the UAE, Egypt, Jordan. Many of them have done peace with Israel. It's the political Islam, if you want to be very polite. If you don't want to be polite, you say it's the Muslim Brotherhood, it's Turkey, it's Qatar, it's Hamas. And the last one is the jihadist. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, the General Allen was so good in depressing and remove them as the main camp. So, to your question, I think the pragmatic Arabs, which condemn Israel, and I have no doubt that they will do it, are very happy this evening. Very happy. I used to work for President Peres, and when we discussed in 2010 the possibility of attacking Iran, he was against it. Say, Amos, there will be a war with all the Arab countries. Say, President, I have to contradict you. They will condemn us, but in closed doors, they will be very happy. Because they are not in the camp of Iran. They're afraid of Iran. Iran is their enemy. When Israel is weak, when America is weak, they are going close to Iran. They are buying an insurance policy. But they are very happy. On the Turks, we are not in a good relation. However, as you mentioned, they are part of NATO. If I have to choose between Iran and Turkey, I prefer Iran. They never developed. I prefer Turkey. Sorry. I want to see how much.
That is not for quote.
I prefer Turkey because we still have an embassy in Ayarkon Street in Tel Aviv. And we still have an embassy in Ankara. Yes, Erdogan is a huge problem, but nobody stays forever. And I think Turkey never developed a nuclear program to wipe Israel off the map. Remember, Iran is the only UN member that called to wipe Israel off the map. And Turkey is not like that. Will they be happy or not? I don't know. They have some competition with Iran. Take Syria, for example. Syria was an Iranian territory, and Turkey doesn't like it. They bless her for removing Assad and Assad military. Now we have to agree with them, as we agreed with the Russians, on deconfliction, what is your area of interest, what is our area of interest. Once again, Erdogan will condemn us in all the bad thing. But I don't think that strategically he will be so sorry.
And remembering that Israel and Turkey had very deep and long relations years ago. So
I used to deploy with my squadron when I was base commander to Turkey. We trained together. All my friends, generals, 3, 4 stars, unfortunately in jail.
Well, that's another dimension of the relationship. And we had a question over here, and this will be the last question.
Hi. Jennifer Ewing, I'm part of Republicans Overseas UK. My question is also about the timing. You mentioned President Trump and the 60 days that he gave Israel to, excuse me, Iran. Now I'm confusing things like you are. He gave Iran 60 days to negotiate, and they did not. And yet there were talks arranged, I believe, in Oman this weekend. Was that just which I assume are off for now, but is that just a coincidence or bad timing or what?
No, I think the 60 days were another deadline that was not met. It's not a surprise. I think President Trump told Hamas that Saturday, his first Saturday in office, 12 o'clock, all the hostages should be released. So it didn't happen. What is important is the traffic light that I described. Since the president woke up, the tweets are very good. He supports Israel. He warned Iran, say, I told you, you can do a deal. If not, you will suffer. And he supports Israel. But 11 o'clock DC time, he will have to decide what he's doing. I don't think Mr. Witkoff is so sorry. Mr. Witkoff is amazing real estate negotiator and project manager. And he's very rich because of that. He got four amazing strategic files. Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Hamas, Iran deal, and normalization with the Saudis. Kissinger was unable to do the four of them. One of them is a huge challenge. So maybe he will have time to close the war in Ukraine or in Gaza and do the negotiation. If scenario number 3 will happen, he will have a chance and the Omanis will welcome him anytime.
Well, Amos, I can't thank you enough for making the time to come in and offer your views on a really very serious situation, which has followed many others in the region. The Middle East is a region in turmoil. There are, of course, many perspectives on how this attack came off, depending on where you sit and what country you're from. But we didn't want to miss this opportunity as GLOBSEC for this gentleman who's been so deeply involved in this planning and this effort for so many years, who is today an advisor to the Israeli government, but also in his own right and on his own is a very objective spokesperson, as you just heard, in a very pragmatic way about what Israel is doing, what Israel's future looks like, what the region will look like as a result of it. And I think you've been exposed to a very unique opportunity for an information flow.
And once again, thank you. And for the record, I'm not a formal advisor.
For the record, that's correct. He's not.
Yeah,
but the phone never stops ringing.
Because I usually got my advice, but in a lag between 2 weeks to half a year. So I hope
that gives them the ability to say you were late in coming in. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I understand there's a reception coming.